The image of himself happily counting stones in his fortress is a delightful one. But then, a voice breaks his reverie. It is Keiho calling out softly. Snapping back to reality, Chun Fan looks at Zhou Mo and the others standing behind him, along with the hundreds of people gathered in the clearing. It seems the selection process is finally complete. Everyone has been assigned their proper place, and it is finally time for him to speak. However, as Chun Fan snaps back to reality, he simply stands there, leaning on his jade staff, and looks at the group before him with a calm expression. He tells them that today is their first official day in Fanyu, a rising power where many rules have yet to be written. But one thing is certain, Fanyu will eventually dominate all of Jiangbei and even Jiangnan, provided they all work hard. He promises that Fanyu will never mistreat them, then instructs everyone to find their respective pavilion masters for their assignments. And just like that, he dismisses them. He keeps his speech brief. To be honest, he prefers leaving the details to his subordinates. Over the past few days, he has noticed something interesting. This world often feels like a makeshift stage where everyone is just playing a part. Keiho, for instance, used to be a mere station attendant, hardly someone you would expect to lead a major organization. Yet, after becoming the head of the logistics pavilion, he actually looks the part. This leads Chun Fan to a curious realization. It seems that once a person is placed in a certain position, they automatically begin to look like they belong there. The real challenge isn't having the talent first, it's finding a way to secure the seat in the first place. It is almost as if the position creates the talent, rather than the other way around. He shakes his head to clear these thoughts. Pushing aside these idle reflections, he walks over to Wei Wei and gives the creature's head a gentle, affectionate pat. He gestures toward the center of the sinkhole, explaining that deep underground, there might be earth essence, a rare, black gold material. Wei Wei stared intently at Chun Fan, gesturing with her hands as she asked if he could help her dig out the incredibly sturdy genius bunker. After a moment of thought, the creature nods firmly and scampers to the center of the pit to begin digging with enthusiasm. The ground here is incredibly hard. Even a cannon would struggle to leave a dent in this compressed earth. And yet, the solid ground is easily torn apart under Wei Wei's powerful front paws. We recall what he learned from the little mother. The person who used a hammer to smash this mountain into a sinkhole compressed a massive amount of rock into the depths. Over the years, that pressure might have formed earth essence. He isn't entirely sure what it is, but he knows it's valuable. Just then, Keiho limps over to Chun Fan's side, looking surprisingly sentimental as he watches the scene unfold. He mentions that Xiaoqiu, the new head of the hidden pavilion, was an orphan who grew up without parents, much like himself. He remarks that while most of them were alone in the world, Chun Fan always had a father, but after today, that's changed. He notes that Chun Fan is now an orphan too. Chun Fan turns to him with a blank expression, wondering if he's lost his mind. He tells him that if he has nothing useful to say, he should stay quiet. Keiho immediately realizes he's overstepped. Shrinking back, he whispers that he was simply trying to say that they are all each other's family now, a warm sentiment, really. As the excavation continues, Chun Fan decides not to rush. He simply sets up a table and chair to enjoy the sun. He sits there leisurely, monitoring the progress. 2 hours later, a slight tremor vibrates through the ground beneath him. Wei Wei emerges from the pit, rushes over to him, and opens her massive jaws to drop a pile of black gold material. The stones pile up like a small mountain. Surprised, Chun Fan picks up a piece to examine it closely in his palm. The system identifies it as Earth Essence, a green-grade treasure with a very specific and potent set of effects. It is a rare material used for chi refinement, though using it to refine energy is a rather difficult task. It requires at least a level 7 chi refiner. Chun Fan falls silent, realizing that Fanyu doesn't actually have any chi refiners. He decides to store it for now, letting out a heavy sigh as he realizes that building a global power is truly exhausting. He wonders where he'll find a chi refiner to join them. The next day, a man runs up to him while he's busy in the camp. The man respectfully reports that someone named Chi Yu is outside, asking for an audience with the Lord of Fanyu. Chun Fan drops his hammer and tells them to bring the guest in quickly. Before long, he walks out to greet him with a smile. He asks Senior Chi what brings him here. Chi Yu stands as straight as a pine tree and says he has come to teach them swordplay. He explains that in 2 months, he must go kill a group of people and might not survive the encounter. He offers to teach Chun Fan's people everything he knows, provided Chun Fan looks after Gong Yangyue in exchange. He asks for a little care for Gong Yangyue's family in return. We notice that this time, Chi Yu has come alone. The inseparable Gong Yangyue and Gong Yangyue are nowhere to be seen. Chun Fan remarks that his people can learn the blade instead of the sword. It's all much the same. But he is wrong. Chun Fan certainly wants Chi Yu to teach his men, but more than that, he wants Chi Yu himself. Currently, Fanyu lacks anyone with a cultivation as high as Chi Yu's. He leads the swordsman to a wooden cabin near the excavation site. After personally brewing a cup of tea for his guest, Chun Fan speaks softly, reminding him of their first meeting. He recalls when he first took over Station 37 of the Jiangbei family, and it was Chi Yu who taught him how to survive the wasteland. He admits he has always been grateful for that. He suggests that if the people Chi Yu wants to kill are too difficult to handle, Fanyu can do it. Fan Yu will take the lives for him. Chi Yu remains silent for a long time before shaking his head with a self-deprecating smile. He claims Fan Yu cannot kill this person, only he can. Chen Fan suggests he is underestimating Fan Yu, but Chi Yu knows their strength well. The problem is that they cannot see her, only he can. Does she have the power of invisibility? Chi Yu simply shakes his head, refusing to say more. A faint shadow of death flickers in his eyes. Chen Fan nods thoughtfully and, sensing the weight of the topic, decides to change it. He asks if Chi Yu likes Gong Yanhua. He says no, yet he keeps her around because she clings to him, though he admits he has feelings for her. She is one of the few people who has ever been kind to him. Chen Fan clicks his tongue and stands up, offering a small smile. He remarks that everyone has their own path, so he won't interfere. He thanks him for the next 2 months and points toward his men. He tells him to ask for anything he needs, gesturing toward Zhou Mo and the others nearby. After Chi Yu departs, a figure slowly emerges from the shadows of the room. It is Xiaoqiu, dressed in his signature white robes. Chen Fan looks at Xiaoqiu as he steps out of the corner, noting with a chuckle that Chi Yu didn't seem to notice him at all. A flash of pride crosses Xiaoqiu's eyes. Now that his soul fragment has returned, his cultivation is just 1 step away from the 5th king realm. Since they are at the same level, it's natural he wasn't detected. However, he adds with a hint of indignation that Chi Yu is far too arrogant. He claims there is no one in Jiangbei he cannot kill. If Chi Yu can kill them, then Xiaoqiu certainly can too. After flipping through the records once more, Chen Fan leans back and whispers that the last person Chi Yu wants to kill is himself. He wants to destroy the weak version of himself from the past. He hasn't been living under an alias out of fear of revenge. He simply cannot accept his own history, and since no one can help him with that, he must be the one to do it. But Xiaoqiu insists he can do it too. After thinking it over seriously, Xiaoqiu declares with absolute certainty that now that his strength has returned, he has a 50% chance of killing him. With a weapon forged by the goblins, his chances rise to 70%, and with a goblin-made knight suit, it becomes a certainty. He claims he could finish the job within 3 nights, leaving Chen Fan to look up at him in complete, speechless disbelief. He asks Xiaoqiu to stop thinking about killing for a moment. Chi Yu wants to end his past life, not literally die at someone else's hand. It is a tragic story about a man trying to kill the version of himself that lived through humiliation. We wonder if Xiaoqiu can even grasp that. Xiaoqiu lowers his head, muttering that he understands, but he simply found the man's claim that no one can kill her to be far too arrogant. He insists he could do it, and if the man doesn't believe him, he'll prove it. Chen Fan simply sighs, realizing there is no point in arguing. It seems Xiaoqiu truly loves his profession. To be honest, he would probably do the job for free even without a reward. If anyone dared to say no one in Jiangbei could kill them, Xiaoqiu would happily rush over with his dagger just to prove them wrong. Such pure dedication to one's craft is rare. Chen Fan dismisses him, but Xiaoqiu pauses to ask if the hit is still on. The answer is no. Xiaoqiu then asks when his first assassination mission will be, but Chen Fan tells him to wait until the rainy season passes. When Xiaoqiu suggests targeting the president of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce, Chen Fan tells him to get lost and go train his men instead. Meanwhile, at the sinkhole, Zhou Mo stands respectfully beside Chi Yu, listening to his teachings as the swordsman senses his cultivation level. Chi Yu's brow furrows as he realizes Zhou Mo's progress is unnaturally fast. He is already approaching the level of a rank for cultivator. He stops mid-sentence, his gaze shifting toward cave number 1 as a flash of realization crosses his eyes. He assumes there must be a cultivation room nearby, noting that even as a rising power, Fan Yu possesses surprisingly deep resources. And yet, a question remains. Even with a cultivation room, could anyone's strength really grow this quickly? Is this the right path? Zhou Mo stands there, unsure of how to explain the situation or what he should even say. The Spirit Pavilion is open 24 hours a day without limits, and then there are those annoying fermented beans that boost cultivation. But are these things he can actually talk about? You haven't turned to demonic cultivation, have you? Chi Yu asks, his voice raspy and serious. Demonic cultivation? Could that be even faster? Chi Yu looks at Zhou Mo, who seems restless and almost eager to try it. With a blank expression, he notes that demonic paths lead to a quick death and an early grave. First, I must explain my understanding of the sword. He acknowledges that while Zhou Mo uses a blade, all weapons in this world share a common essence and similar principles. Under the sun, Zhou Mo listens in silence, learning with patience and care as time slowly slips away. In the blink of an eye, a month passes. The rainy season in Jiangnan, Jiangxi, and Jiangdong is finally drawing to a close. The day after tomorrow is the date Fan Yu set for its grand opening, and the auction is scheduled to begin during this period. By then, various powers will descend upon Fan Yu. He has already spread the word. Are the auction items ready? Chen Fan arrives at the warehouse and looks at Wang Kuei, who is busy inside with the many ghost stones brought back from the Jiangbi Chen family. There are a staggering 70,000 stones, nearly double what the Qiuhe Wang family possessed. One has to admit, the Jiangbei Chen family was certainly wealthier. They also brought out several treasures, though none were particularly valuable. Everything is almost ready. Wang Kuei emerges from the warehouse, wiping sweat from his brow and panting. The items for this auction. he explains, are divided into 3 tiers. The first tier is just to warm up the crowd, featuring the green-grade treasures you selected. There were unopened packages as well as those already used, and we see that the second tier was even more impressive than the first. This includes the yellow-grade cauldron from the Pill sect and other high-value items. And then, there is the third tier. For the grand finale, they have prepared a single item, the right for Fanyu to build a level 3 city wall for another faction. It guarantees green clothed patterns at only 2,000 ghost stones per meter. Chen Fan nods, feeling reasonably satisfied with the plan. From what he has learned lately, the Pavilion of Heaven, a faction made of architects, derives a huge portion of its income from such projects. The plan is to construct buildings for other factions, but we see that other architects in this world charge far more than he does. For instance, his cost to build a single meter of a level 3 city wall is a mere 560 ghost stones. Other architects, however, require 1,500 ghost stones for that same meter. To be honest, the price difference is staggering. While their patterns are random, he can guarantee a perfect green-clothed finish. This item alone will be competitive enough to succeed. He tells them to prepare, as the market is about to open. After that, Chun Fan continues his inspection of the warehouse. Since he hasn't spent many ghost stones lately, over 100,000 of them are still piled high. Just looking at them, one can't help but feel a sense of deep satisfaction. Additionally, the copper pipes collected during the rainy season are all stored here. With over 100,000 meters of pipe ready, he knows the auction is just a hook. The market itself is the real moneymaker. The rainy season ends, and 2 days later, various major powers begin sending their representatives toward Fanyu. Chi Feng and his group, who had been scavenging in Ping City, meet up with the envoys from Medicine King Valley to travel together. Beside Wuming Mountain, a brand new city has risen along the coast, with the words Fan City carved proudly above the gates. It is, by all accounts, a truly magnificent sight. The stone jade paving the ground and the decorations lining the streets leave the visitors dazed for a long moment. Everything feels strangely familiar, like the Jade Lions from the Pill sect. Among the crowd is the 7th Valley Master. Chen Fan, waiting at the city gate, steps forward to greet the young Valley Master with a cheerful smile and a respectful bow. He invites them all inside, thanking them for attending the very first day of Fanyu's grand opening. The 7th Valley Master of Medicine King Valley returns the greeting with a wide, friendly smile of his own. He admits, quite shamelessly, that he has been eyeing those treasures from the Pill sect for a very long time now. He explains that he might not browse much, as he intends to spend all his funds on that yellow-grade alchemy cauldron. Chen Fan simply laughs it off, telling him it's no problem at all, and inviting him to look around as he pleases. The amusement in his eyes is almost impossible to suppress. He doesn't just want them to buy, he wants to show this world the true meaning of quality and value. Just then, another faction arrives with a long line of carts. Seeing this, the 7th Valley Master quickly speaks up, addressing Chen Fan. He suggests they stop bothering him and head inside first. Chun Fan agrees, and the Valley Master leads Chi Feng into Fan City. As they walk, he turns to his companion with a very serious expression on his face. He warns that while Chun Fan will surely display many incredible items in the market, they must resist the urge to buy any of them. Every bit of their capital must be reserved for that alchemy cauldron. Chi Feng nods in agreement, understanding the situation perfectly. He knows exactly what a yellow-grade cauldron would mean for them. To be honest, it would be like giving wings to a tiger. It would allow them to refine higher-grade pills and earn far more ghost stones. After they officially enter the heart of Fan City, we see that instead of traditional shops, there are rows of street vendors stretching for hundreds of meters along both sides of the road. Every vendor watches the group with a welcoming smile. As they look at what is being offered on the stalls, Chi Feng stops suddenly. He points hesitantly toward the very first vendor and asks his father if they might buy just a little something. On that stall, 2 unlit ghost fires are displayed next to a sign. It reads, Level 1 Ghost Fire, price 5 ghost stones. 4 higher level fires. The sign suggests a private chat. The 7th Valley Master, who intended to head straight to the inn, freezes in his tracks. He stares at the price in disbelief. A level 1 ghost fire for only 5 stones. Currently, the market price is usually around 50 or 60. Even though he has inside knowledge and knows that crafting these doesn't actually require many expensive materials, it still usually costs at least 10 ghost stones just for the base production. Yet here, they are selling for 5, half the cost of making them. Suddenly, he finds it very hard to keep walking. This is essentially free money. If he buys a batch and takes it back to Jiangnan, it would be a guaranteed profit with 0 risk. However, he looks toward the inn at the far end of the street and takes a deep breath. He tells himself not to buy, as ghost fires are too heavy to transport in bulk. He insists all money must go toward the cauldron. He notes that the city's design is quite strange. From the gate, there is only this one path forward with no side streets at all. To reach the inn or any other area, we see that everyone must first traverse this long road. As for why the prices are so low, there are only 2 possibilities. Either Fan City possesses a rare, transformative upgrade that drastically reduces the cost of crafting ghost fires, or they are intentionally selling at a loss to gain market share. To be honest, the latter seems far more likely, as even the 7th Valley had to start that way. Every faction follows this strategy at first. Don't we want this one either? Chiyu asks, her eyes fixed longingly on another stall nearby. On that stall sits a level 2 Imperial gift priced at only 30 ghost stones, requiring no additional energy supply whatsoever. Valley Master Chi begins to feel the temptation pulling at him, but he grits his teeth and refuses. He starts to quicken his pace, doing his absolute best not to look at the vendors on either side. He knows that every single stone spent here is one he might lack when bidding for that cauldron. He tells himself that if he doesn't look, he won't be tempted to act, and so he rushes toward the very end of the street. However, at the end of the road, he encounters several skeletal horses, ghost camels, and carriages being pulled by those same skeletal steeds. The prices are displayed with painful clarity. A single skeletal horse costs 1,500 ghost stones, though they aren't sold individually. They are only available for bulk purchase by recognized factions. A ghost camel is priced at 2,000 stones, also restricted to bulk buyers. A carriage pulled by 3 skeletal horses is priced at 5,000 stones, and again, it is only for those buying in large quantities. This time, Valley Master Chi finds that he simply cannot move another inch. His resolve, it seems, has met its match. He stands frozen before the stall, his breathing growing rapid and the tips of his ears turning a bright, embarrassed red. In his mind's eye, he sees countless ghost stones waving at him. You see, a skeletal horse sells for 3,000 stones back in Jiangnan. Taking just one horse back, even after travel expenses, would mean a net profit of at least 1,400 stones. And if he bought more, the average cost per horse would drop even further. A ghost camel, meanwhile, usually sells for 4,000 stones elsewhere. Bringing one back would net him 1,900 stones in profit, while a carriage could sell for as much as 13,000. He would make 8,000 stones in pure profit just like that. This isn't shopping anymore. It's practically picking up free money from the ground. The vendor, an elderly man with a weathered face, steps forward with a welcoming smile and invites them to take a closer look. These are genuine skeletal horses, and we see that the vendor is actually the great elder of the Qin family, who has now pledged loyalty to Fan Yu. Today, he serves as the stall owner here. Chi Feng takes a deep breath, pulling his father into a quiet corner to whisper to him. He argues that it makes no sense not to buy them. It's practically free money, and once they reach Jiangnan, there will be no shortage of buyers. Crowds of people would fight over them, he insists. Let me think, Valley Master Chi replies. Just let me think for a moment. High profit and high turnover. If a deal has even one of those, it's a good business. But if they buy these skeletal horses and bring them back to Jiangnan, they would have both. It's an incredible opportunity, yet he can't help but wonder why Fan Yu is doing this. Why would they sell to them at such a low price? If Fan Yu took them to Jiangnan themselves, they could easily charge 2,500 stones. They could earn so much more, which is a major concern. To be honest, if he doesn't understand the motive, he fears it might be a trap. Valley Master Chi takes a deep breath, steps boldly toward the vendor, and asks in a low, serious voice that there is something he must know. Why doesn't Fan Yu simply take these horses to Jiangnan themselves to sell them for a higher profit of 2,500 stones? It's a good question. Elder Chun, standing behind the stall, has already been well trained for this and responds with a practiced, easy smile. He explains that Fan Yu is a newly rising power, and their trade routes to Jiangnan, Jiangdong, and Jiangxi aren't fully established yet. If Fan Yu tried to sell them personally, they couldn't move many in a short time. Secondly, such a move would surely cause friction. It would upset the local powers who already sell skeletal horses in Jiangnan, leading to unnecessary and costly confrontations. But if everyone sells them, then everyone becomes a partner with a shared interest. Would those local factions really dare to move against all of you? Thirdly, these horses are just the beginning. Fan Yu intends to integrate the trade routes of various families into a new system. They want to create a Silk Road to distribute Fan Yu's goods to even more distant lands, reaching as far as the Guanxi Plains. The goal is for everyone to make money and prosper together. To be perfectly honest, when the elder first heard this plan, he couldn't help but marvel at the sheer audacity of the young master's vision. If this succeeds, every faction involved becomes a partner. They would essentially become the downstream branches in the reaching hands of Fan Yu, vastly increasing the city's influence across the land. Furthermore, as Valley Master Chi pointed out, selling them for 2,500 stones would certainly yield a much higher profit. However, the young master doesn't just want to earn for himself. He wants others to profit as well, sharing the wealth by giving up a portion of the margins. By doing so, he enlists numerous factions to work for Fan Yu, utilizing the trade routes and networks they have built over many years. All of this now serves Fan Yu's interests. The elder isn't sure of the exact cost, but if it's around 1,000 stones, then this is an absolutely perfect deal. Even if the cost is slightly higher, say 1,300 stones, or perhaps 1,400, it remains a solid long-term business, even if short-term profits are cut in half. We see Valley Master Chi staring intently at the skeletal horse, his eyes bloodshot as he struggles with the decision internally. His sect, the Medicine King Valley, was built on alchemy. A yellow-gray cauldron could significantly bolster their defenses, allowing them to refine even higher quality pills. But because he makes his living selling these medicines, His trade network is vast, maintaining business ties with many factions in Jiangnan. If he spends 50,000 stones and buys 50 skeletal horses, he is confident he could sell them all in a single day for 2,500 stones each. That single transaction would net a profit of 50,000 stones. If he bought 100, the profit would be 100,000. It is, quite literally, free money. However, the Medicine King Valley doesn't have that much liquid capital. He has already brought 60% of their reserves. His original plan was to secure that yellow-grade cauldron first. If he buys these skeletal horses now, he will have to stand by and watch the Jiangxi Red Pill faction take that cauldron for themselves. Elder Chen stands there with a smile, not rushing him, though he can't help but feel a strange sense of satisfaction. In terms of status, the Valley Master is far above him, a powerful figure who holds the power of life and death. Yet here he is, struggling visibly. Seeing the great man flushed and conflicted gives the elder a secret thrill. Honestly, working under the young master is far more comfortable than working for the old master. At least now he deals in honest business rather than shameful deeds, the kind that used to keep him awake at night. Seeing that the moment is right, Elder Chun gives a soft, knowing cough. As if suddenly realizing something, Elder Chen slaps his forehead and apologizes, claiming he had been quite blind not to recognize Valley Master Chi sooner. He explains that Medicine King Valley is considered a first-tier trusted power of Fanyu, granting them a credit limit of up to 100,000 ghost stones. In the Fanyu market, the Valley Master can freely select goods worth up to that amount and take them away without paying a single coin up front. He simply needs to settle the debt within a month. To prove it, Elder Chen reaches into his robes and pulls out a specially crafted token. He respectfully presents the rectangular medallion, which features the name Fanyu engraved on the front in elegant script. The back is inscribed with Medicine King Valley, and holding this allows one to buy on credit at any stall under the Fanyu banner. Valley Master Chi stares at it in utter disbelief. To be honest, he has never encountered such a business practice in his entire life. He instinctively asks if Fanyu isn't worried that he might simply never return to pay, but Elder Chen only offers a small, knowing smile. He isn't worried, noting that if that happened, the next auction would likely feature the Medicine King Valley's own deed for sale. Realizing he just asked an incredibly foolish question, the Valley Master clears his throat awkwardly, though he can't seem to let go of the token. He accepts the medallion and hands it back to Elder Chun, deciding then and there to use the credit to order as many skeletal horses as possible. He wants to take them with him when he leaves, and Elder Chen confirms it's no problem at all before stepping into a nearby room. He returns shortly after, handing the token back with a smile and announcing that 66 skeletal horses have been reserved for him. With a remaining credit of 1,000 stones, he wishes the Valley Master a successful journey, leaving the man absolutely beaming with joy. Unable to suppress his grin, Valley Master Chi carefully tucks the precious token into his robes as if it were his most prized possession. Curious, he asks if other factions have also become trusted powers, wondering just how exclusive this inner circle really is. Elder Chun explains that spending 50,000 stones or receiving a direct invitation from Fanyu grants one first-tier status. He adds that there is indeed a second tier, which carries a staggering credit limit of 200,000 ghost stones. The Valley Master's breath catches. He wonders if Fanyu is truly this wealthy, considering his entire sect doesn't even hold that much liquid capital. If he tried to copy Chun Fan's business model, a single credit transaction would likely bankrupt the entire Medicine King Valley in a day. However, Valley Master Chi is far more interested in the next step, specifically, how one becomes a second-tier trusted power. Elder Chun explains that spending 200,000 ghost stones is the key. By that logic, he is already halfway there. The Elder clarifies that the progress only counts once the current debt is settled, a point the Valley Master understands perfectly. He nods with a wide grin, unable to resist pulling out the token once more to fiddle with it in his hands. Noticing the Tier 1 mark on the back, he doesn't linger, heading straight to the inn at the end of the street. He calls for a room, his mood reaching an absolute peak. To be honest, he can't wait to return to Jiangnan. The waiter at the door greets the group with a smile, confirming the Valley Master's identity before leading the way. Since Medicine King Valley is a first-tier power, their stay is free of charge, and their rooms have already been upgraded. An upgrade means far better accommodations than other factions receive, a detail that makes him say good 3 times over. Valley Master Chi grins again. It isn't that he lacks the money for a simple room, of course. It is the feeling of exclusivity that truly delights him, a privilege he hadn't expected from a mere market status. He reflects that while many markets exist, Fanyu has a unique atmosphere that others simply cannot replicate. It feels quite wonderful. We see that he truly likes it here. Meanwhile, at the entrance of Fan City, the streets are lined with vendors and closed buildings. In reality, these roadside structures are all interconnected, forming a hidden network of passages behind the walls. Inside these corridors, men and women in Fanyu robes are running back and forth, shouting reports of the latest transactions. A messenger reports that Medicine King Valley, a first-tier power, has just utilized 99,000 stones of their credit. They purchased 66 skeletal horses, leaving a balance of 1,000 stones. The data is recorded immediately. Another report comes in. The Gangyang clan, also a first-tier power, has exhausted their full 100,000 stone limit. They bought 64 skeletal horses and 2 ghost hags, leaving them with 0 credit. This, too, is logged into the system. Finally, a sword sect spends 75,000 stones on 50 horses, officially applying to join the ranks of the first-tier powers. The application is approved. Sitting at the end of the corridor, Wang Kuei quickly records the information. Picking up a nearby transmission talisman, Wang Kuei contacts the intelligence department. The Aegean sect has applied to become a first-tier trusted power. He grants his approval immediately, requesting an expedited creation of a custom trusted power token specifically for the Aegean sect. Xiao Qiu's voice soon crackles through the talisman, confirming the rush order. A few hundred breaths later, it is already on its way. We see a man in a standard Fanyu robe charging out of the canyon on a skeletal horse, entering Fan City from the other side. He arrives swiftly at the back door of the building, delivering the newly minted token with practiced efficiency. Wang Kuei takes the token and hands it to an aide, instructing him to deliver it to the Aegean sect and report back. The report follows. The Aegean sect, now a first-tier power, has utilized their full 100,000 ghost stone credit limit. They purchased 65 skeletal horses, a ghost camel, and 16 level 2 ground spikes, leaving a balance of just 20 stones. By now, Chen Fan is no longer at the entrance greeting guests. He has handed that particular task over to Wang Matzi. As the head of Fanyu's merchant division, Wang Matzi needs to familiarize himself with the various factions and build these vital connections. While Matzi makes his introductions, Chen Fan stands at the end of the indoor corridor overlooking the bustling streets of the market. He watches the Fanyu members running back and forth, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. To grow a business quickly, one must share the wealth. Letting others have a piece of the cake is essential, but if you want a business to explode, you must offer flexible payment terms. Whether he provides the funds or the goods, these factions only need to do the legwork to earn a handsome reward. It's no wonder the scene is so chaotic. To be honest, it would be strange if people weren't acting a little crazy for these deals. He had anticipated this frenzy, though he does have one regret. The lack of computers in this world makes bookkeeping a manual, tedious chore. It looks exhausting, yet looking at the excitement on his employees' faces, he realizes his biggest problem is actually a shortage of manpower. Standing there, Chen Fan can't help but sigh. Even with 247 people, Fanyu is still stretched thin. He has enough messengers for the legwork, but he is desperately lacking specialized talent, specifically, people with sharp, flexible minds. He finds himself wishing for a few more trustworthy accountants, so he wouldn't have to pull Wang Kuei away from his other duties. We see that everyone with a silver tongue has already been dispatched to act as stall holders for Fanyu's market. Meanwhile, Keiho asks a hesitant question. Chen Fan simply offers a light smile without explaining further, as the others have no idea what it actually costs him to produce a skeletal horse. To be honest, it only costs him 100 ghost stones to craft one, which puts the market price in a very different perspective. When others spend 100,000 stones for 66 horses, it only represents a loss of about 6,600 stones to him. He can easily absorb that cost, but Keiho remains indignant, feeling that they are letting these other factions earn far too much profit. They don't even have to put up their own money to earn tens of thousands of stones, and he wonders why they deserve such a deal. Chen Fan tells him not to worry, explaining that this is a classic strategy, using a grand gesture to prove a point to the world. By showing everyone that working with Fanyu guarantees a feast, he ensures that those on the outside will be green with envy and desperate to join. With such a massive supply being unleashed, the skeletal horse markets in Jiangdong, Jiangxi, and Jiangnan will soon reach a breaking point. In the short term, prices will naturally begin to drop. Those who bought for 1,500 stones will have to adjust their expectations. Selling for 1,700 or even 1,600 stones will become the new normal, and that is when the Real show begins. By that time, many factions will have grown fat off Fanyu's business, and their level of trust in the company will be incredibly high. They will be hungry for more, and since some of these factions own trade routes to the Guanxi Plains, Fanyu can use them as a bridge. This allows them to sell skeletal horses even further away as the network grows, eventually, if anyone dares to oppose them. Chen Fan won't even need to lift a finger. A single word from him would prompt a dozen factions to wipe that enemy off the map. He calls this owning nothing, yet commanding everything, leaving Keiho to lower his head in deep, silent contemplation. The subordinate can sense that if this plan succeeds, it will be revolutionary, as no other power has ever operated on such a scale. The only flaw is the risk of total ruin if it fails. He wonders what would happen if someone simply refused to pay their debts. Chen Fan's expression turns cold as he suggests making an example of someone, marking this day as the beginning of a truly frantic era. The news of Fanyu's new methods, drawn in by the auction, had spread far and wide, though Keiho still didn't quite grasp the full scale of the profit. Everyone's eyes turned red with greed. To them, Jiangbei wasn't just a region anymore. It was the second home they never knew they had. They had to move fast. We shift our gaze to another street in Fanqing, a bustling area dedicated to acquisitions and allowing various factions to trade freely among themselves. In one of the official Fanyu procurement shops, a middle-aged man stands looking rather anxious as he waits for assistance. He points to a carriage full of goods behind him, asking for an appraisal so he can sell it all. He originally came from a faction in Jiangdong. Knowing many groups would flock to Fanyu after the rainy season, he brought a batch of goods to sell, but upon arrival, he realized just how chaotic things had become. Since his faction had no prior ties to Fanyu, he learned he must spend 50,000 ghost stones in the market first. Only then could he become a level 1 trusted faction and take a massive herd of skeletal horses back to Jiangdong. But he was just a merchant on a mission. He wasn't the leader of his faction, merely the one in charge of their Chamber of Commerce, and he simply didn't have that many ghost stones on hand. With only 30 or 40,000 stones, his original plan was to use his sales profit to buy a new batch of goods and take them back for a profit. However, Fanyu had announced that the offer to become a level 1 trusted faction by spending 50,000 stones was limited to only 20 spots. After a quick discussion with his team leader, he decided to liquidate all his goods to Fanyu as quickly as possible. His goal was to buy 50,000 stones worth of horses, gain that trusted status, and then use the 100,000 stone credit line to take even more back. The available spots had already been snatched up until only 7 remained, which explains why he was in such a desperate hurry. To him, this was essentially free money, and more importantly, it seemed to carry absolutely no risk at all. He tells them these are all sealed treasures, and there's no time for a detailed appraisal, urging them to just take the whole lot. The clerk tells him not to worry. The second elder of the Chun family walks out with a cheerful smile and waves his hand, prompting several shop assistants to begin hauling the bags and bundles. As they move the goods inside, the elder explains that their manager needs to take a quick look before giving him a specific price. The merchant begs them to hurry, as he is running out of time, and the elder assures him that they understand his predicament perfectly. Inside the shop, Chun Fan sits in the back room, quickly scanning the panels of each treasure. There are many, mostly common white items, with about 7 or 8 green ones. Finally, his gaze stops on a piece of emerald jade, an item known as the architect's token. It is a green-grade treasure with a simple effect. It allows the holder to become an architect. Yet, within that simplicity lies immense profit, and Chun Fan can't help but smile at this final, show-stopping piece. As for the other items, some are good and others poor, but he intends to buy them all for the Fanyu Chamber's reserves. After finishing the appraisal, he settles on a fair price and looks toward the inner room where an elder waits. He quietly instructs the second elder of the Chun family to offer 10,000 rose stones, adding that he can negotiate higher. However, he warns him not to seem too eager. The elder nods respectfully before stepping back outside. He approaches the anxious middle-aged man and calmly announces that the manager has finished the valuation. The elder begins to say the buyback price is 8,000 rose stones, but before he can finish, the man shouts, "Deal." The merchant is visibly agitated as he urges them to hurry and hand over the stones, since the goods are already theirs. The second elder's mouth twitches slightly. He had planned to raise the offer to 10,000 to make the man feel favored. He didn't expect such desperation, so he simply waves his hand for the assistants to count the stones and hand them over. Without a moment's hesitation, the merchant grabs the stones and leads his men charging toward the Fanyu Market Street next door. He is terrified that if he is one step too slow, the remaining spots for trusted factions will be snatched away. Watching the man's retreating back, the elder sighs, feeling lucky he never mistreated the young master in the past. That stroke of luck saved his life and allowed him to witness Fanqing's prosperity, and though he is old, he feels a change. It seems he is experiencing a second spring in his career. Meanwhile, as night falls, the visiting factions settle into their inns. Chun Fan returns to cave number 1 within the Wooming Mountain sinkhole, just as he does every other evening. He sits in his rocking chair atop the city wall, listening to the excited voices of K-Ho and the